Speaking with the Heart by Dr. Heather Brown, part 2. This is the second part of chapter 1. Here we go. So grab some paper, a pen, some water, and I'll help you become more hopeful and much more empowered. I'm highly successful in helping couples care for one another deeply and desire each other passionately and intimately. I've created beautiful and powerful exercises and activities over the past 27 years of couples counseling that have saved hundreds of relationships and marriages. And I'm going to personally share these with you right now. So as we begin, it's important to explore what communication is. Relationships and connections are important human needs, and communication is an extremely important component of those. Now, when I say communication, what do you think of? Talking, right? Words and talking are actually only a little teeny part of it. And yet we rely on words as our primary mode of communication. But communication is mostly experienced in the tone of your voice, your physical stance or posture, your facial expressions, the significance of emotions that your eyes express, your intentions about the relationship and the conversation. When we only rely on words, we're handicapping ourselves to some of the most valuable pockets of information. So in this book, I'm going to show you how to become aware and how to connect. Here's some important research on communication. Albert Mehrabian, who was a researcher of body language, was the first to break down the components of face-to-face communication. He found that 55% of communication is nonverbal, 38% is verbal, and 7% is the words alone. He called it the 55-38-7 formula. And that's why I urge clients to come in for sessions or at least a video session. That's why I refuse to utilize email therapy, even though it's becoming popular. You miss so much. We currently have the fastest capacity of connecting with someone. And at the same time, we have the least effective method of doing so. We can reach massive amounts of people instantaneously in our virtual world, but our ability to communicate or authentically connect is becoming more and more impoverished. Nick Morgan, who's published in Entrepreneur magazine, researched this further and found that 90% of the time we think our messages are being understood, but it's actually closer to 50%. Only half of our messages are understood. Once again, it's a coin toss. Folks, what are we doing? And with our deterioration of true engagement, we're also becoming less able to decipher what is actually being said. Morgan said that a simple 2-word phrase like nice job or good work was interpreted as being sarcastic 60% of the time. Can you think of a time when you were misinterpreted or when you misunderstood the other? How many times have you found yourself in a whirlwind of texts or emails trying to explain what you really meant? Maybe it wasn't a fight. Maybe it was simply a misunderstanding. But how often have you found yourself clueless as to what that phrase meant, how to respond, or even what was being asked of you? Come on now, be honest. It happens a lot, doesn't it? And how many times do you wish that you had picked up the phone or waited until you got home to talk face to face? We've all done this. And I'm sure that you've had numerous arguments that were completely a result of misinterpretation or reacting to a word such as fine, whatever, sure, okay, We have a tendency to assume the worst, especially when the intention isn't clear. Morgan states that this negative bias is what our caveman brains did because of potential danger. When we assume the worst, we're destroying our ability to communicate and connect. And it's affecting us in our relationships. Let me help you change from assuming the worst or jumping to conclusions to hearing your partner out. There is a huge difference between communication and connection. I'm going to say it again. There's a huge difference between communication and connection. So let's break down communication. Healthy communication has 5 important components: honesty, authenticity, integrity, curiosity, love. Let's explore these components. Think about your relationships. Are these 5 key components present in your relationships? Which ones are present and strong? Which ones are lacking?